What to start with? I think what I want to start with is more, and I know you hate this. I know I hate this. More talk about the orange bastard and what he has planned for the people of this country when he is president again, which he truly believes he is going to be. Trump says he will renew his efforts to trash Obamacare, get rid of it, burn it, make it go away. You know, the Affordable Care Act. Over the weekend, he threatened to reopen this fight that went on. There were 60, 70 attempts to murder the Affordable Care Act by the Republican Party right before it became the Christian Fascist Party. And even Trump made the effort to repeal it, were it not for John McCain. Remember McCain's thumbs down vote and he was the only senator who made the difference in destroying the orange bastard's attempt to destroy Obamacare. Remember that? And for that, Trump decided to start calling him a coward and a bastard and so on and so forth. John McCain was the last living member of the Republican Party, as far as I'm concerned. Shortly after McCain gave the thumbs down signal about ending Obamacare, the Republican Party collapsed of its own putrid weight and started to deteriorate, and the maggots started attacking it. And when it rose again, it was a zombie Christian fascist party, which is what we have now. So the orange bastard says he is, quote, seriously looking into alternatives to the Affordable Care Act when he is elected president once again. This is just part of his plan. I mean, what we've talked about and what a lot of people have talked about is the fact that Trump he's evil. He's a filthy son of a bitch, but his evil is transparent. And by that I mean, and a lot of people who have said that, what is meant is that you can see what he says he's going to do, he usually tries to do, not that he succeeds. But God help us if he's elected president, because now there are enough Trump zombies in the House and the Senate that they will make sure he succeeds. I know. I'm sure I have listeners out there who sometimes think, Malloy, for Christ's sake, can't you talk about anything else? I wish I could. I truly do, and I try to. But Trump is literally, absolutely, totally an existential threat to the United States. There is no question about it. Now, when he said this over the weekend, he immediately got response from Biden's reelection campaign. And the spokesperson for Biden's campaign called what Trump said an extremist proposal. Oh, my God, that word has been so overworked it doesn't mean anything anymore. Everything about Trump is extremist. He's a psycho. That's your starting point. Anyway, so what the Biden campaign decided to do is to mobilize a response, which includes new advertising in the so-called battleground states that shows the difference between Biden's efforts to, well, among other things, lower drug prices and Trump's comments. Now, there is something horribly, horribly wrong with the American public, the voting public, horribly wrong. Especially, let's just focus on this one issue. Biden has done everything humanly possible, even though there's not much a president can do, for Christ's sake. But he's done everything he could to lower drug costs. Part of the, what was it called, Inflation Reduction Act, was to lower the cost of insulin for seniors. But that was an act of Congress. It wasn't something that Biden ordered done the way Trump will order things done once he becomes dictator of America. And yet, there are huge numbers of Americans who say Biden has not done a good job where it concerns affordable health care. What the fuck are they talking about? Anyway, the Biden campaign communications director, a guy named Michael Tyler, after the Orange Bastard said what he said, Tyler said, quote, Donald Trump is campaigning on a threat to rip away health care from millions of Americans. So we are going to use every tool in our arsenal to make sure the American people know that lives are literally on the line next November, end quote. Well, Mr. Tyler, with all due respect, the only people who are going to hear that are people who already know that. See, this is the problem. There is such a coagulated, choking, so-called pipeline of news that reaches the American public. So much of it now is nothing but Nazi propaganda, lies, distortions, bullshit, by the people who, for some god-awful reason, it's probably because of their own fascist tendencies, want to see Donald Trump the dictator of America. I'm beginning to realize that this has a very good chance of becoming what America is after November 2024. It's hard for me to hold that thought in my head longer than in 2 or 3 seconds before I start to have those internal screams. Maybe you've had them before, where you start screeching and screaming, at least in your mind, about this can't be happening. How could this happen? Why is this happening? Biden's team, of course, operates under the assumption, the certainty, I would say, that the Orange Bastard will be the nominee of what is still referred to as the Republican Party, the Christian Devil Party. And that's obvious given his commanding lead in the polls. How can, for the millionth time, I sit here and I wonder, how can that be? But it is what it is. So the Biden campaign has tried to step up its efforts in recent weeks to try to show that the Orange Bastard's proposals are extremely extreme and to wake up America to the fact that this son of a bitch is a complete threat, danger, a murderer where it concerns democracy in this country. But again, the people hearing that are the people who already know it. But Biden in particular is starting to, I guess with probing and prompting and words being written for him, he's starting to try to paint a vision of a catastrophic future if this orange son of a bitch wins. And the hope is the people who are running the Biden campaign are hoping that by getting Biden to actually start to say this shit, to put names to these nameless ogres who now run the Christian Fascist Party, they're hoping it's a strategy that might motivate so-called lukewarm Democratic voters who might be more driven by a desire to stop Trump than to deliver a second term to Biden. I guess I would be in that camp. How about you? I don't have concerns over high inflation. I really don't. I don't know where the high inflation is. Okay, interest costs right now. But I don't think that's a function of too many people working and making too much money. I think that's a function of the greed heads, the son of a bitches who run that industry. That's just my uneducated, where it concerns economics, opinion. I am concerned about Biden's age. Who isn't? I'm also concerned about the direction of the country that we're going in politically, but that has maybe 1% to do with Biden and 99% to do with the fascist influence that all of a sudden has flowered like a goddamn death's head in this country. Fascism. Oh, my God. Oh. Now, I'm trying to stay on topics here, on the topic, like the cost of health care and how the Christian Fascist Party is totally distorting this shit. healthcare generally has been a better issue for Democrats than Republicans when there was a Republican Party, of course. And the dregs of the Republican Party, now the Christian fascists, have more or less retreated on their efforts to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act, at least in recent years. Now, when the orange bastard is president, of course, these fascists in the House and the Senate will all of a sudden wake up. Oh, hey, we have a leader now in the position of power. Let's destroy the Affordable Care Act. And there is no John McCain left to more or less walk up to the podium and give a big thumbs down. There's nobody left in the Democratic, or I'm sorry, in the Republican and the Christian Fascist Party who has the courage, the decency, the sense of honor to do that. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.